I'm Felicity Blake, and I'm here to talk to you today about crowdfunding. I think somebody mentioned crowdsourcing earlier today. Did that come up? And so crowdsourcing is usually applied to content where you have user-generated content or material that's sourced from your audience or from the internet at large. For example, the band Arcade Fire collaborated with Terry Gilliam recently for their concert, and they used a lot of crowdsourced photography in their amazing work. Crowdfunding is like crowdsourcing, except with money, and that can be quite useful for independent producers like myself. So I thought I'd talk you through something that we did recently for our project, The Periodic Table of Awesome. What you see behind you is the Indiegogo website that we first put up for Periodic Table of Awesome. This is a project that I established with Dion Brooks, who's also in the room. In February, we came up with this idea because we know each other through the Supernova Pop Culture Expo, which takes place in Sydney, Brisbane, Melbourne and Perth a couple of times a year, 4 times a year. And we came up with this idea that we would like to do a web TV series about fantasy, sci-fi, comic books, genre film and television, all those geeky things that we like, that there isn't any representation for as a TV or web series so far. And the audience is online and they would love to see that material, but there's nothing. So we thought, we'll make it. So we kicked this idea around in February, promptly ran away with the circus and went to live in Adelaide for 2 months, and that was another story. Later in the year, I unexpectedly had some time available to develop my own projects, which is what we call fun employment, and decided to bring this back to life. So there are a number of crowdfunding platforms available. I had to resort to crowdfunding because we wanted to film our pilot episode at the New York City Comic Con approximately 4 weeks from when I came up with the idea that we were going to do this. It's technically a lifestyle and infotainment series for geeks. Funding bodies won't touch lifestyle and infotainment, and certainly there's no way that I could get a 4-week turnaround to get that finance to get 3 people to New York and Los Angeles for 3 weeks. So I had to be a bit creative with this financing. So I looked into the crowdfunding options. There is an Australian crowdfunding platform, and it's called Fundbreak, fundbreak.com.au, and I'll show you a page from their website in a little while. The reason why I didn't go with Fundbreak is, first thing, you have to apply to them to get an invitation code. So they don't just put anybody's project up there, you have to apply first. But they did in fact approve our project quite quickly. But they use a model of crowdfunding called ransom funding, which is either you make your whole target amount within your allotted period, or you don't get anything. And all of the donations are refunded to the donors. And that was too risky a financing model for us, obviously, because I had this objective in mind, and I couldn't kind of wait 4 weeks until the day we were supposed to leave to find out whether or not we were going to have the money. So this was not going to work for me, and I ended up having to go with an overseas-based funding platform, and it's called Indiegogo. They dispersed finance on a weekly basis. They accept credit card and PayPal donations. You don't have to be US-based to set up a profile on Indiegogo, and basically you can just do it and get it over with. You don't have to apply to them to ask. And I just realised this morning, actually, when I was checking our page and putting up an update, that both of my projects on Indiegogo in the last couple of months have been featured on the front page. And I thought at the time, oh, I guess everybody gets featured on the front page sooner or later. That's probably just a nice gesture that Indiegogo does. And then I realised there's 11,800 projects on Indiegogo, so I must be doing something right. So the first one that we put up, based on the fact that this financing model was going to work, was this video right here. They really encourage you to use visual materials and use a trailer. And so sitting at my desk, I kind of cut together this dorky little trailer on iMovie, which I was sort of using still graphics for in an old version of iMovie, and it was an excruciating process trying to edit this together. And I'm not an editor, I'm pretty good for a writer, really. But, we managed to get this together in time to get this online. Dion Brooks and David Quinn. Dion's here in the back, and Quinny is based in Tasmania, and they are the people that you might recognise from the Supernova Expo, and also the other show that you saw the logo for, Cool Shite on the Tube. Cool Shite on the Tube is one of Australia's most successful podcasts that nobody in Australia has ever heard of. They have about 50,000 iTunes subscribers, most of whom are from overseas, and they're based out of Tasmania. It's promoted exclusively by word of mouth, and it's been running for a few years. And the guys from Cool Shade on the Tube also do the staging at the Supernova Expo. So one reason why crowdfunding was able to work for us in this instance, especially to raise $8,500 US in about 30 days, especially on the back of my dorky animation, was that those guys already have a huge audience, and I have a pretty big online community to back me up as well. Most of our finance came from Supernova fans, because we promoted this website and this video through Supernova's list, their mailing list and also their Facebook account. And it got a few plugs on the Cool Shade on the Tube podcast, which is, as I said, available through iTunes. So this is the thing with crowdfunding, it doesn't work unless there's a crowd, and we kind of already had one. So has anyone here crowdfunded anything already? Or do you have anything that you're maybe thinking this might work for you for crowdfunding? Awesome. And feel free to put your hand up and ask questions. I'm not going to wait till the end for questions. If I say something that you would like elaborated upon, please just wave to me. So that was the beginning of the project. When people donate in crowdfunding, there is a reward system, particularly on Indiegogo. Down the right-hand side, Aussie, if you scroll down here, you can see the $8,000 goal. We originally had 30 days. And each one of these little funding increments, starting with the $5 chuck, which was, if you donate $5, we, on our social networks, we posted a little graphic of Ralph Wiggum from The Simpsons standing next to a box of cask wine with $5 chuck written on the cask, and Ralph Wiggum going, "Tastes like burning," which was made by Dion, who conveniently is also a graphic designer. So that was the $5 chuck reward. It's basically just, if you'd like to see this happen, chuck us $5, thanks very much. Going through to, I think the next one was a $50 or $20 increment. Scrolling down. There we go. Well, for example, here Bam said the lady is a $50 minimum, and I called in a bunch of favours from creative people and some well-known pop culture industry people of my acquaintance, and for that one you could get an autographed comic book. Ride the Giant Squid was a package featuring some items by Ben Templesmith, who was the illustrator who made the comic that turned into the film 30 Days of Night, and that was a special package that was actually bought by somebody from Paramount's PR department. Double Rainbow, which might mean something to some of you if you follow internet memes, was another package. Shiny, and our top donation package, of which there are only 2 available, which was a $1,350 US minimum. There were 2 of those, and as soon as I posted images of the main reward, they went pretty much within 24 hours, because the reward for that was an original piece of comic book cover art by one of the top comic book artists in the industry today. And that was pretty exciting that they went so fast. We also have other, comic book sketches and stuff. So the point is there, in terms of your reward structure, to have things available for your fans which are appropriate, genre appropriate to what you're doing. This is actually from Funbreak. This is the Australian one, and this is an Australian short film called Colin the Dog's Fabulous Midnight Adventure, produced by a friend of mine, Jiao Chen, who, if anybody here was involved with East of Everything, would know Jiao from the production office there. He's a very young, fabulous, hot producer doing fantastic things, and he put his project up here, and they funded it, and like us, exceeded their funding. And you can see some of their examples there. For an $80 award, you would get an invite to the cast and crew screening and a copy of the film, or $125 you'd get prints of selected film stills and stuff like that. So again, it just depends on what's appropriate for your project. So going back to periodic table of awesome, once we actually got all of our funding, and amazing things happened in the process, like some people donated twice, like a couple of weeks would go by and they'd get their next pay and they'd chuck us another $50. Every time somebody donated, I would do thanks in our social media, and I kind of got onto this mad thing on our Facebook page where, to thank people for donating, I'd give them a love song dedication, and some of them were geeky, some of them were just downright hilarious. There was one that I must have watched 18 times because it was a video clip from about 1976, that one with the horse on the beach. So, check out the Facebook page, there's some great videos there that we had a good time with. And then that started provoking more donations because people wanted to see what love song dedication they were going to get. Sooner or later, we got down to, I think, about 3 days from the end of funding, or maybe 2 days. And then somebody who had already donated the $1,350, a guy from Brisbane, donated again and bought a second package. So he was our single biggest funder, an Australian guy. Our other leading funder was a guy who bought the other package, was from Long Island, and we gave him his cover and the rest of his package at Comic-Con when we got there. So once we did get everything, just with days to go, and I was frantically booking airfares and putting down deposits for a shared apartment accommodation in New York, and lining up interviews and stuff, we reached our goal, and we asked our friend Spike Spencer, who is a voice actor in Los Angeles who does the voice of Shinji on Neon Genesis Evangelion, to help us record a voiceover for this animation. So again, we stayed in touch with all our fans, and then when they'd helped us, we said thank you. The fans being able to reach you and interact with you is absolutely critical to the success of a project like this. It's completely fan-based, and people are funding this because they want to see it happen. So it was a really very demanding and time-consuming exercise for me to be married to my desk and just be constantly Twittering and Facebooking and thanking people for donations and looking for new content, and also twittering content on our Twitter about exciting film and television and pop culture news, and starting to build that following to get us to New York. And so, long story short, we got it funded. I booked the airfares about 2 days before I left for New York, and then Dion and Quinny followed me over. We rented a holiday apartment on West 39th Street near the Javits Centre, which is where Comic-Con is held. We had press passes and professional passes to Comic-Con, and we filmed on all 3 days. Absolutely flat out. Again, I called in more favours from my friend Daniel Farmer in New York, who's an Aussie guy who's a camera operator over there, and he came and helped us film. My best girlfriend, Esther Harding, who's a producer in Sydney, had gone on holidays to New York, and so on her last weekend in New York, I actually roped her in and made her work for me. My friend Matthew came and carried all of our stuff, and in a labour of love, we have now shot all the footage for this pilot. So we're going to post a 10-minute pilot that's made up of various types of segments. Some of them are the interviews from Comic-Con, and others will be ongoing segments. What we're looking for here is a commission or a sponsorship partners so that we can make it on an ongoing basis, probably out of Brisbane, because I, as of next Monday, am now working out of there despite being from Federal. I've just been headhunted by a production company there, so I'm moving to Brisbane now. But so we'll probably make this out of Brisbane. We have a production partner in Brisbane called TPD Media, who we got to know because it's a friend of ours' brother-in-law, who was, they usually make those kind of lifestyle shows about four-wheel driving, like Great Southeastern and Queensland Weekender, and they're interested in getting into more digital media.